Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, my name is Matt Rockney, Chair of the Planning Commission. I'll call the meeting to order. I think everybody's accounted for. Bev Holzai, you on yet? We'll see if she tunes in.
I think she's bottom left, isn't she?
Yeah. I'm on.
You're the B? Okay, good. Let's see, first item then is are there any amendments to the agenda?
There are no amendments to the agenda. The only change I have from the packet that went out on Monday is a change to my memo. So for the public hearings information for the 2101 180th Avenue IUP, I initially had 6,371 square feet. That should be approximately 14,000 square feet.
Okay.
So that is the only change I have.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll move approval, Steger.
I'll second it, Bev. Holzai.
Any discussion? Not all in favor, Holzai,
Aye.
Bucher,
Aye.
Venus,
Aye.
Prinz,
Aye.
Eager,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Rockney, aye. Motion carries. Next, approval of the minutes from February 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th.
Hamel motion, is there a second?
Second, Prince.
Prinz second. Further discussion? Not all in favor, Holzai,
Aye.
Bucher,
Aye.
Venus,
Aye.
Prinz,
Aye.
Eager,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Rockney, aye. Motion carries. Number 4, public hearings. Part A, this 16800 County 168 Boulevard rezone. Before I open the public hearing, any preliminary comments, Ryan?
Yes. So this is to consider a motion or a petition on behalf of the property owner, Larry Comfort. He's requesting to rezone his parcel to industrial. It is currently zoned as highway commercial. The current access is via 168 or County 168 Boulevard. There used to be an access off of Highway 52, but that is no longer gone, or that is no longer there. It is expected that MnDOT may build an overpass over Highway 52 in the future, connecting 445th Street / Jefferson Drive and the industrial area to the east of Highway 52 to this area, essentially connecting the two industrial areas of the city. The future land use maps within your packets shows that the comprehensive plan from 2016 marked this area for future industrial uses.
All right, I'll open public hearing. Anybody in the audience or anybody remote wants to ask questions or make comments, now's your time. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience care to comment on the change on the rezone? Eric Lohman, okay, go ahead.
So yeah, if you come up to the microphone.
Are we talking about this property right now?
No.
Hi, my name's Eric Lohman. I own the land directly adjacent to the west of the parcel in question. And I want to assure you that I'm not against progress or development in any way. And I want to see Mr. Comfort be able to sell his land and Mr. Wetstein be able to have a new building. I just, for his metal recycling business, I just think that this is the wrong location for this type of business, and it wouldn't be a good start to the city's industrial park, especially the way it's adjacent to Highway 52. That's my comment.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have comments?
Yeah.
The question I have is, I'm right south of the property in question, and I did not receive any mail or anything from the city about this meeting. Was there a reason?
Per the ordinances, the mail goes out to landowners within 350, landowners within the city within 350 feet.
Oh, in the city?
Yes, and sir, I believe your property is currently not in the city yet?
Right.
Okay.
Is yours in the city?
Part of it.
Oh, okay. I didn't
But
know.
I spoke with Schwann's, a guy named Kevin, he didn't get a letter. They're right across the road there in the city.
And the ordinances or the notifications go to whatever address is on their tax records. So it could have gone to, if not like the physical location, then the corporate location.
Yeah, it didn't go to, it didn't go to the physical
Oh, okay.
location, nor did
Brad,
the
no,
stone
Brad.
place get.
Well, I did mail them out.
Okay.
Swan's got one?
We're hearing that they did not receive one, but they were mailed out.
But they were mailed out to whatever address.
To their address of record. Okay.
Well, 350 feet doesn't go far out in the country. It doesn't make it across 52 there.
That's what the ordinance says. Plus, it was published, so anybody who reads the paper can see that the public hearing was on for tonight.
I didn't see the paper either, but I'll take the word for it.
It was published, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right. Any other comments from the audience?
This is
One more.
Linus. I have a comment from the committee.
How about we take comments from the audience first, Bev, then I'll close the public hearing and then we can discuss. Is that okay?
That sounds fine.
Okay. Any other comments on the proposed change in zoning? If you could identify yourself once you sit down. Probably keep it
My
on.
name's Scott Carlston, and I'm the son-in-law of Larry Tomford. And this is some land that obviously Larry has farmed for many years. And it came to us into Larry. Larry asked me to help him with it. And seeing as your guide, you had a guide for zoning. The zoning guide in 2016 called for future industrial from current commercial because you closed off that exit heading west off of 52. So that is the reason why then we felt that when we spoke with Jamie that it actually is a good fit for this area because that is no longer accessible coming in that way, and that would not be a good commercial use there. And the fact that Jamie talked about building a building right now that's going to have enclosures, we felt that it would be a good start to the west side. Thank you.
Any other comments? And I'll close the public hearing. So I guess the request is for a rezone. What the planning commission would do would either make a recommendation to city council to either approve or deny, or if we need more time, we could, as long as we're within the 60-day rule, or we were allowed one extension of the 60-day rule if we need more time and revisit it again at the next meeting. Bev Weenus, what were your comments?
I was going to go over what we had talked about last month with this project. And I know as a commission, we have to see that this variance would be in harmony with the general area out there, and it would not be detrimental to other properties
Well, it's
in
not a
that same zone.
I just need to interrupt. It's not a variance, it's a request for a rezone. So a little bit different rules. Generally on a rezone, it's, you look at the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, but you're right, you look at, is it harmonious with the overall growth plan of the city? Does this area fit something that could be industrial instead of highway commercial? But it's not a variance.
Okay. Or would it be compatible for development of the city if we would do this?
Right.
So I may be able to answer for the compatibility for development. So we do have one water main out there already, as well as sewer out there. And we are working with area landowners on opening it up further, the larger area for further industrial development out there, including Mr. Nord and Mr. Lohman. So the city has concept plans and is currently working with landowners to open this up for further industrial development.
I guess I would make the comment that with the access cut off, it doesn't really fit highway commercial definition anymore, because anyone to drive to it, if there's a restaurant there or something, it's a long way around to get to it. And our comprehensive plan shows that general area is industrial. My concern is that, what kind of industry comes in, and we all know about the Orinoco and the junkyard they had down there, the problems. I would hope we wouldn't see something like that. But as far as the zoning from highway commercial to industrial, it seems like it makes sense, in my opinion.
Do we have to do a finding of facts with this proposal?
No, I think on a rezone, it's simply either was there a mistake in the original zoning, or has the character of the neighborhood changed so that it justifies a rezone? And again, looking at the comprehensive strategic plan. But I don't think we need specific findings. And I know, the big concern is if this specific business goes in there, what's the impact going to be? What's the noise? What's the odor? I guess that's maybe a question down the road once if there's a business plan submitted, a site plan, we could address those at that time. But right now, it's simply a request to rezone from highway commercial to industrial.
And then if this is approved, he would go before the board again to see if it was compatible with what he was planning. Is that right?
May I explain more of the process? So if it's either Mr. Westein or any other development or project wants to go in there, the process would be that since the land is currently not platted, it would have to become platted. And during that process, you'd submit a concept that would go before the Planning and Zoning Commission. And if the concept seems, congruent or acceptable to the Planning and Zoning Commission, it would go to staff. Staff would then work with the developer on the actual engineering and the zoning and any other considerations that would need to be factored in. And then after staff have figured out all of that with the developer, then it would go before the preliminary platting process, where it would go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for further input, and then back to staff, then back to the Planning and Zoning Commission again for a final plat, unless the Planning and Zoning Commission or staff believe we can run preliminary platting and final platting at the same time. But during
How
that,
long do they?
Sorry, Bev.
How long would he have to do? Does the 60-day rule apply to any of these things that have to be done before he can do this?
The 60-day rule applies for, to action by the city council or the planning and zoning commission to make a decision when there's been a formal application, and there's been a formal application for the rezone. For building a project such as a building, that can take, I guess that depends on whether they submit for preliminary plat, in which case there's a time limit then. But city staff encourages all developers to approach the city as early as possible, so that way we have as much time as possible to work any engineering issues.
We'll get your place.
So we are in the 60-day rule now, right? We're within it. It's starting.
Yes, for a decision on the rezone to be made by the planning and zoning and city council.
Get in your place.
Thank you.
Any other concerns, questions?
I just wanted to kind of go back to what we had talked about a little bit last time with, just having some questions about, what the site was actually going to look like, what the type of recycling was, because I remember there being some discussions about not using the word junkyard and things like that. So just, wanting to be clear about that as we move forward. Otherwise, I think I agree with Tom that in terms of the use, it makes sense. And I think we can figure out some of those other things along the way to make sure that we do address some of those conditions that may need to be in place.
I have a question. This is Bev, the other one. One of the things that they said that they were going to be recycling would be things like the catalytic converters and precious metals from other things. Having someone recycling that as close as this, would that increase the incidence of catalytic converter theft? We've already had a problem with that in the city and Olmsted County. Just kind of wondering if it just make it easier for people to be able to make their money off of it by having one that close.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can answer that question, but it's a legitimate.
Is it a concern? Does anybody else feel that, that it is a concern, or is it something that's not just kind of not a big deal? I think about it because I've had things missing from my car, but not that, but
I guess my understanding, sorry, Tom, with the recycling is that those recycling operations have to have documentation for those materials that they accept. So I think there's some controls on that.
All right, thank you. I didn't know that, so that's why I was asking. I did not realize what had to be done to, to make it right. Thank you.
Matt, I don't want to step on your toes here, but I think we need to keep in mind that we're here tonight to talk about a request for a rezone, not any business going in there. We worked hard with those local landowners for many months to try and turn the whole area into industrial park. So as far as staff is concerned, we envision industrial out there. I think the discussion about the highway commercial not being appropriate anymore after there's no access, I think that's valid. But tonight, I think we're here to talk about the rezone request, not any particular business going in there. All valid questions, and everything will have its time for discussion, of course, but I think we need to deal with the property itself and the request for the rezone.
No, that's right, but I think the writing's on the wall, what the plan is ultimately. So I think it's okay to ask some of these questions, but you're right, technically not.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
Business owner in here, so
Pardon me?
we do have the business owner here. So if
Yeah, I don't know if Jamie, if you can answer any of those questions. Those are kind of wide open questions.
You know, like I said, Larry and I are here about the rezoning, and I think that's really going to be addressed at this point. I think we're getting out of limit of ourselves.
I agree, but I don't know if Jamie can answer a couple of those quick questions or not.
But it hasn't even gone to Jamie yet. It's Larry's property,
Okay,
so I'd rather not even go to that area yet because there's nothing hidden. Go ahead.
we're just asking for some facts, that's all. Are there controls on that?
No, I just don't want to start that whole.
I agree.
Because we got a site plan yet, we got the building design yet.
I agree. The question's been asked. I'd just like to hear if there's any quick answer. It takes 5 seconds.
I guess my name's Jamie Wetstein. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So with the, I guess, the earlier questions with the, how you would envision your center to operate and the concern with physical security, especially with catalytic converters.
As you turn on the news, you can hear the Cadillac converter theft all over the world. I mean, it's just not some road in Minnesota.
Right.
There are certain mitigations that we're taking. We actually, I own a scrapyard in Iowa that's pretty large as well. And we go up and above and beyond to try and work with, you know, the police officers to catch that stuff. You're going to have that theft anywhere you go. And you can't label anybody, of course. So what we do, we have an inventory management system. It's called Scrap Dragon. We take your driver's license, thumbprint for payment. You know, I'm a Cadillac converter specialist, I call myself, so I know every car, what they come off from, what years. We can label that into our inventory system, who the people are. And, you know, right now, my business, we purchase from, you know, like, you know, certain shops. We don't really have that door customer that comes in that we're trying to get, so.
Is there anything toxic about a catalytic converter?
There's heavy metals, which are called platinum, palladium, and rhodium. Any heavy metal, of course, can be toxic. But we're not in the refining business. We just send to a refinery. So we have nothing to do with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask one more quick question? These catalytic converter thefts, would they be likely to try and unload those in town? I mean, when the question about will there be more thefts around here because they can get rid of them quickly in town?
Well, I can reassure you, if they're going to steal them in town, they ain't going to sell them in town unless they're fools. Come on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta understand, Watson's buys hundreds a week, you know? So they're right up the road from us. Red Wing, auto recycling. We got recycling centers, you know, within 30 miles that buy, you know, they're in the same business that I'm in. We're just in a lot, we just buy a lot more volume than they do. So.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other concerns, questions of the commission? Does anybody want to make a motion? Well, public hearing's closed, but yeah, that's fine. What do you guys?
You wasn't here before. You had to get at the smelter, any of that stuff?
Absolutely not.
Right.
I got one that I should have asked earlier. You know, the bridge overpass that's in the future plan. Now, his access to that property will have to be away from that area. Is that correct?
Right now,
I don't know if they heard that. Brad Nord, adjoining property owner, asked about the access. If the overpass isn't going to create or if there's an access issue from Highway 52 directly, what, I guess it was just an access question. Go ahead, Brian.
Trying to think here. So access is there now. And so that will not be denied. There could be a difficulty in the future if they put that overpass in, if and when. And that will be dealt with at that time with the county engineers and the city and the owner.
Where it is now, that the bridge goes in later, you're gonna move.
It would have to move in some way, yes.
That's why I wonder if it's a possibility of a bridge, or now would be the time to look at the access. Yeah, okay.
Yep, and that'll be part of the process, the next process.
Yes, with the plating.
So if I may, just, you're talking about acknowledging the access, so that we're on landmark, what we're gonna get. If the bridge goes over too far, to get back in, granted, there'll be some sort of access coming through there as you guys develop. That we will figure out as a move. Not on your land, it is the city or the county's responsibility. Really what it is.
Just one quick thing, if we're gonna rely on fencing to have it look better, if you're on a 25-foot overpass, you'd be looking right in at it.
Yeah, I don't even know what the plans are for that overpass yet. Is it too much in its infancy or what?
Yeah, it's way too much in this infancy. There was I don't think there's been even a concept done. There was a line drawn on a page one time that says overpass.
Could be a 20, 30 year plan or?
I'm not sure. I mean, they didn't plan on an overpass that either that fast either.
Right.
They do have concept plans that show where it ends, because you can't just go straight uphill. So it ends past this property.
Yeah, from my understanding, they hadn't developed anything with it yet as far as, because when our city engineer asked that question of the MnDOT person, they didn't have any information of, other than, yeah, this was the projected area.
Commission have any wishes?
Are you asking for a motion now?
Yeah, they could make a motion to approve, deny, or ask for more time, right? It'd be recommendation to council on the if approval or denial.
Since we're just talking about rezone for now, I'll make the motion that we recommend to the council that we rezone the, what's the address here? 16, lost it again. That we rezone 16-800 County 168 Boulevard to industrial.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Bev.
Bev holds
Other
on.
Bev. Yeah, other Bev.
All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Holzai,
Aye.
Bucher,
I'm gonna abstain.
Wieners,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Eager,
Aye.
Hamel. Aye. Rockne, aye. Motion carries, so it'll be in front of the city council at the next meeting probably.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, on that one. Next, 4B, we have another public hearing at 180th Avenue for an interim use permit. Before I open the public hearing, Ryan, any comments?
Yes. The property owner, Steve Cheney, is requesting an interim use permit to allow the remaining area of his building, which would be approximately 14,000 square feet at 2101 180th Avenue, be used for commercial storage. That's currently where the Family Dollar Tree is currently located. They do not take up as much of the building, so he has a considerable amount of space left over So he's requesting to use that space for commercial storage, so that way he can make the property viable, financially viable.
I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody in the audience have questions or comments on this proposed interim use permit? Go ahead. Could you state your name, please?
Jay Christensen with Rock Commercial Real Estate. Thanks, Commission, for taking the time here. And I think, does everybody have what I brought, the packet there?
The individual, our council members that are remote, they do not have access to that.
So this history of this building, everybody's fully aware. It was originally the Alco building. They went out of, they went bankrupt. It's been a real challenge. I've worked with several other real estate brokers with Steve, trying to get a solution for this building. There was a temporary solution with a bottled water manufacturer for a while in there. A few years ago, we had a chance to sell the building. We brought a proposal for a manufacturing company, brought it before the council. Council was turned down. And we understood that the idea was that it was needed to be retail. So we've really struggled. This building is not a small building. It's 26,000 square feet. We're in Zumbrota, Minnesota. We've just not been able to fill it with retail. So we finally have been able to get the Family Dollar and the Dollar Tree to take a big portion of it. Family Dollar and Dollar Tree have a new concept now. They have 16,000 stores. It took a long time to get them here. They're here. I don't think they're leaving. They did a nice job on the building. They stuck a lot of money into it. But there we sit with 14,000 square feet left in the building. The parking over there is not great. It's plenty for the McDonald's, for the Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. Even if we could find additional retail to go in there, it's extremely difficult. So we came up with the idea that we felt there was a need for the indoor climate controlled storage. There is not any that I know of in this area besides Rochester or up in the cities. There's outdoor storage, which fills another need for the city. But the indoor climate controlled storage is something that we really felt was needed. I sold the Shopco building in Casson, and that was exactly the same thing. It was almost the same size building. The city of Casson wanted it retail. It was in their city park. It was a big deal to get it in there and get it zoned that way. And like Elko, Shopco up and left. So we really struggled trying to get that building filled, and we just couldn't do it. And so we finally found somebody that would do it, but a hybrid model like this. And we went to the city and said, we can get some retail in part of the building and check those boxes, but in order to make it financially feasible for somebody, we got to put some indoor storage in the back. And they said, we don't want the building sitting dark. They agreed with it. It's now filled in with retail, looks super. The storage is almost full in the back. It's now turned into being a really nice looking, decent project. And that's what we think can happen here. Exact same thing. So we know it's not exactly what the city wanted, but it does check the big boxes of keeps the retail up front there. And the average time frame that a Family Dollar and Dollar Tree stays is over 30 years. So they'll stay there for a long time. They stuck a lot of money into the property. And when I was over there just last week and talked to the store manager, she said it's going great. They love it there. They see their sales increasing every month, every week. So it seems like a positive thing. There'll be some, right now there is in that back L shape, there are 2 exit doors. There would be 2 more exit doors put in there, plus a garage door on the side where McDonald's is. So in every part of that building, there would be an emergency exit and then a large garage door.
Anybody have any questions? I was wondering if Family Dollar's ever commented on this. I don't know if we've ever heard whether they had a position on this.
I have not heard anything.
They clearly got notice, right? Or
It was in the newspaper, but the notices went out to property owners. So I don't know if it went to
instead of
them.
tenants.
Correct.
You know,
One
have you
question.
Family Dollar about this?
No, because they don't have a say in it. As long as, the say they would have is if all of a sudden we block their access or it interfered with their lease or there was, but it doesn't. So they have no say. They're actually thrilled that somebody would put something in there because they believe that people that come there would also buy things. And, you know, for them, it's all about traffic.
Yeah, that was kind of the main concern is the traffic flow. Is there going to be any interference with their customers' use of that store? But if they haven't expressed any concerns, because they know what the plan is, right?
Yes, they do. I mean, I wouldn't talk to them. And they know it. They're excited. In their mind, all the more eyeballs that are by there, all the more feet that walk by their door, that just means that someone gets something. Historically, a storage facility is a lot of traffic up front as people move in, but then it really dies down. They'll most likely have a part-time person or a couple part-time people that work for the facility. So there'll be some job growth there that'll come into play, which is good for the community. But this is a low impact situation, and that this is what this building needs. It can't be something that, you know, just the other day when I was there, 2 or 3 semis pulled up to go into McDonald's and they took the whole side of the parking up. The storage business, people are coming and going. So it's really a perfect fit for this facility.
I had 2 questions. One is the primary entrance going to be off to the side or be using the front foyer also?
The front, most likely, from what I've been told, is going to be an emergency exit,
Okay.
just so people can get out. The main entrance will be on the McDonald's side towards the back, because it's supposed to be like the one in Caston. You really can't even tell there's a storage facility there. It's very nice. It's professionally done. But by driving up, you could never tell that. It'll be the same with this building.
Sure. The other question I had is, if we grant this interim use permit, is there a sunset on that? Does that renew? Or if we see there's a problem, can we rescind it, or how's that work?
I think it's up. I was going to ask Ryan about that, what staff's recommendation is, but I think we can, like before, we've put timelines, deadlines on it, and then it comes back for a review. And if the commission wants to extend another, call it a year, we could, or we could extend it out longer. What were you thinking, Ryan, on that?
So my understanding or staff understanding of the Planning and Zoning Commission is that they want the primary use to be retail in there. So staff recommendation is to have a sunset for the interim use permit, be contingent on the occupation of that space with a retail tenant. And so if for whatever reason, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree end up vacating that building, then it would come back before the Planning and Zoning Commission to deliberate and make a determination then as to whether to continue the IUP or to do something different.
So indefinite as long as Family Dollar is still there?
Or retail.
Or any type of retail?
Yeah. That's usually what I see too. They'll say, we're going to approve this, and they don't care if a Tractor Supply moves in, or it just needs to check the box of the retail. And I agree with you. That's normally what they do.
But they currently, Family Dollar currently has a 5-year lease with 4 more 5-year options. I know the other council can't hear it.
Their typical MO is about 30 years before, and the reason it's 30 years is because they look for, at that time, they either go to the owner and they want a remodel, major remodel or they move to a new building. So they'll usually give a owner about 30 years worth of lease payments.
Yeah, so I guess if the commission wanted to go with staff's recommendation, maybe, worst case scenario, let's say there's some issues. I suppose legally, Family Dollar or whoever has the issue could deal with it directly, whether it's a civil action for whatever. But if they came back to the commission, if our interim use permit was, had a condition in there, so long as it doesn't interfere with the reasonable use of the retail tenant, then maybe we'd have a little bit more of a forum to take another look at things if there's things seem to be not going according to plan. Would that be acceptable?
I think the way that any building owner would want is they would look at the Family Dollar lease and they wouldn't want any problems with them either. The Family Dollar, if that was a problem, it just would be real heartburn for the owner of the building. So they've already looked at the Family Dollar lease and know that that's well in the owner's rights. Family Dollar, now Dollar General, I've sold a lot of those buildings. They don't allow other businesses. That's Dollar General. Family Dollar does. They go into a lot of strip centers, places like this where there's multiple use. That is what they do. Same with Dollar Tree. So we looked at their lease and made sure that this was going to be compatible, because if it wasn't, we really weren't getting anywhere. You add the storage, but then lose the Dollar Tree. Like you didn't gain anything. So we feel pretty confident that it doesn't mess with the lease that's in place.
I guess my point was that, we grant an indefinite permit here, and then, we could still retain some jurisdiction over the issue if there's some sort of more than an interference with the reasonable use of the retail store, the adjacent retail store, then the planning commission could be a forum to address those issues and may possibly tweak the IUP. That's all I'm thinking about.
As a building owner, the one thing that I know they're going to ask me is, so we're going to stick $150,000, $200,000 in storage. Are these guys going to call me send me a letter next month, tell me can't have storage in there? That's what they're not going to want. And I don't blame them. That they want to know that they stick that money into the building, hire some people that, and I know what you're saying.
I'm not suggesting that the whole thing would be revoked, but I'm just saying maybe we want to retain a little bit of a jurisdiction to oversee it in case there's ever any issues that might come up.
Yeah.
I think if we just say that it's primarily retail, if they don't keep their retail tenant happy, they're losing out too.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the ultimate situation is if their retail tenant is not happy, the building owner here loses big time. And that's nothing even to do with the city. They're going to do everything in their power to make sure that that tenant is happy, because that tenant's paying majority of the bills. But I hear what you're saying. I understand.
Any other comments from the audience? The public hearing is still open. If not, I'll close the public hearing. Does the commission have any comments, direction you want to go? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Or we know the demand is there for storage and it's better to be using it than not. Like I say, if we make the motion such that the primary use has to be retail, as long as the permit's in effect, I think we would be covered.
Is that a motion?
Sure, I'll call that a motion.
Second. Hamel, second. Go ahead. We're in discussion now. Ryan, go ahead.
Question, is it the wishes of the council committee, so that way I make sure I get this straight? Do you want as a condition of the approval or of the motion, be that it also doesn't reasonably interfere with use of the site by the tenant or of what's written as is within the packet.
I don't think that was in your motion, was it, Tom?
No, I just said the facility is primarily retail.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion? If not, so this is a recommendation to council, right?
Yes.
If not, all in favor for approval of the IUP, Holzai,
Aye.
Bucher,
Aye.
Venus,
Aye.
Prinz,
Aye.
Steger,
Aye.
Hamel,
Aye.
Rockne, aye, motion carries. So that'll go to city council at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next, then, old business, 5A fences. I'm gonna do the same thing I did last month. Tax season's getting the best of me. I'll try to look at it before the next meeting. I'm sorry about that. 5B, proposed, or a PUD commercial at 460th Street. Ryan, any comments where we're at here?
Yes. So if you remember from last month, the current landowner, Brenda Lumen, and her husband is here today, or tonight. They'd like to sell sections of these lots to a business that wants to build a commercial storage unit. Currently, the lots are zoned C2 highway commercial, which has a limit of no more than 30% of a building can be used for storage, which makes it difficult for a building to use all of its footprint for storage. During the February 21st or February 2021 meeting, the commission recommended a PUDC, which would retain the underlying zone, but would enable a developer's agreement to permit conditions allowing increased storage. However, a PUDC requires platting of the land and therefore construction of city streets along with developing the lots. So Plan and Zoning Commission requested more of a detailed concept of the project. And city staff have provided the landowner with the steps needed to plat and obtain a PUDC and recommended an area civil engineer for assistance if they should need it. Attached in the packet, you'll see a concept map and comments from the landowner and business owner. And for awareness of the commission, the process for this going forward is if the commission likes the concept would then go to city staff, and city staff would work with the developer, in this case the landowner, on the requirement, especially the engineering and zoning requirements for platting. Then when it gets ready to be ready for preliminary plat, they would submit for preliminary plat and it would come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission and follow on the platting process at that time. The PUD process would be factored in that when would run concurrent with the platting process to allow for the planned unit development.
Has our city engineer chimed in on this at all yet?
Very minimally.
Minimally, okay. So where are we at here? Was there an official application filed, or was it just looking for direction?
There was no official application filed with this yet. We're at the concept stage and they're looking for direction with the concept. And
Right. And I read the comments from landowner and business owner. My only response is, the purpose of this commission isn't only zoning, it's also planning, and we want to just make sure that there's good growth happening, especially out on the fringes of the city. So that's why we're scrutinizing this. We're not trying to make life miserable on anybody, but that's part of our job is planning, making sure it's it's a proper use and fits in with our overall comprehensive strategic plan. But, so where are we at now, Ryan? Does anybody want to make comments? Who's here? And then is the request then whether we proceed or request an application for a PUDC be officially filed? Is that what they're looking for? Or somebody's looking for?
The process would be then receive comments, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission could make a recommendation to either approve or disapprove of the concept. If you approve of the concept, it sends it to the staff. So then we get the engineer involved, and we'd go through the engineering, the stormwater plans, grading plans, city streets, city services such as water and sewer. That would all have to be factored in, as well as zoning items, which would include the PUDC. And that would be done jointly with the developer, in this case, the landowner. And then once we get a preliminary plat ready, then it would come back to the city, our Planning and Zoning Commission.
Does anybody here want to make any comments? Go ahead. State your name, please, when you sit. Thank you.
Travis Lemon, owner. Like Ryan mentioned, seems like we're just trying to get started, but it kind of surprised me that we got delayed a month already just to be back in the same boat, trying to just get started. I know last month, a few talking points I wanted to bring up was some people said, is this the best use for the property? Well, I don't think anybody knows that. Just like the Elko building, it went bankrupt and now they want storage. So nobody can say, and that's to me prime land right off 52, right by an overpass. This is a mile further up a highway, county highway. You can't see it from 52. Some people mentioned that last time that it was 52 frontage. It's not visible at all from 52. There's land owners between me and 52 all the way along 52. Other things I wanted to note is that there is a national wetland on my land and on Gary Stiller's land and on Conway Jacobson. So anybody who would want to do development there, like big time, would have to do what they call a wetland swap, which is very, very expensive to do. So I don't think you're going to get somebody in to do big development there with that. We did offer this land to the city, and they said they weren't interested at this time because the cost would be too much to get the infrastructure like from Grover's or Midwest there. Whereas this is a perfect fit for this because he doesn't need sewer and water. He's just storage, which is a big demand in Zimbrota. I guess those are the main things I wanted to address. If there's any questions, I'd take them.
Anybody have any questions? What was your first name again? Travis? Yeah. For Mr. Lumen?
I just have a couple of comments, and we were just wanting to make sure that the understanding is there that there will be a city street that will need to be put in as part of this process is our understanding in the limited conversations we did have with the city engineer. Now, when you put in a city street, typically you don't, typically you run the services in the street at that time. You don't want to go back and tear that up.
Yeah, just talking to Ryan, it's my understanding that that would happen if the development beyond me happened. I mean, it won't happen right away. Steve or Bucherts don't need a street. And if there would be a street down the road, somebody's still got to get the water to me. I don't have to pay to get it from Midwest to me. And then the people beyond me, it's my understanding, I'm not benefiting from it. If they want it, I can attach some of that cost to them. So, but I'm just saying you're talking long, long way off. I mean, you don't know when it's going to happen. And like the city's not interested. They said there's no immediate, they don't plan on doing anything right now.
Is that right? The city street would come later, not as part of this planning process?
That would have to be, if they don't build the city street immediately, one option they would have is putting it into easement and not building the city street. So that way it would still be open for, that way they, like in 10 years or however long it takes, they would be building it at that time. So that is the decision of the developer, but it still needs to be factored in.
I just want to make sure we all go in with our eyes open. We don't want to surprise you with
Yeah, we're
anything.
gonna leave a spot and plat it, do everything that we're required to do, but I'm just saying, I don't really see development happening there for a long time.
Do you own to the west of this too, or is that somebody else?
Yes, I own the west and my cousin owns to the north.
To the north, okay. What's, at some point was, I'm just trying to remember what the comp plan envisioned. Was this all C2 industrial, or is there kind of a mixed residential? What was the overall plan out there, Ryan? Do you remember? Is it right here?
In the, so there's the map in the packet for future land use. It says in there mixed use for these two, like this lot, this 20 acre and the lake, 20 acre directly to the west of that. And beyond that, it has agricultural preservation, and further out, agricultural preservation as well. Those further out are currently zoned R1, but I don't know the intent for that zoning. It could be that was just the default zone that when land comes into the city, it comes in as R1. Right. So it could have been that, or it could have been a high level of black soil and organics that would have made it difficult to put large foundations in. I'm not sure.
So it would not need city water and sewer at this time. Is that right?
Yeah, he doesn't need it. He's just gonna do storage. So it wouldn't be required, which would fit good because the city's not ready to spend that kind of money to get it there.
How about, it's probably more your issue than anybody else's, but is, you know, we talked about at the last meeting, security and that being a little bit more remote where the police might not be out there as often. Is that a concern for security and possible burglaries or not?
He can address that if he's here, but he mentioned that he's gonna have cameras and fencing.
Yeah.
You know, he has storage in Zimrota, doesn't seem to have a problem, so.
Sure.
You know, it's nothing I would know about.
Yeah.
I'd have a question. What is the life expectancy of these storage buildings? Is it, 20 years, 30 years?
Again, you'd have to ask the guy building. I don't know much about it.
The reason I ask is that, assuming a frontage road between 60 and the interchange down there comes through at some point, a city street there, if it's, far down the future, the next best use might be actually more commercial use, and, those could be replaced because they're not the biggest investment.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? From from the owner of the buildings, is there going to be an office out there?
No.
Okay.
And I guess my opinion on that, I know by talking to the PD, this is more for C2, is the security issue. Pushing a fence around the whole property, just because it's out of town and stuff like that. So if we do decide to go forward, that is something that I would like to see. I know the chief would like to see that just for another security issue. I know you put cameras up and stuff like that. So that is something that I don't want you to be surprised if it does get brought up again down the road.
No, we plan on, definitely plan on doing the fence and cameras again. And to be honest with you, I don't know how much, I mean, we've been broken into before, but since we put the cameras up, it's pretty much done. But you're always, it'll certainly happen again, I guarantee it will. But, honestly, guys, they can't control it. Let's be realistic. It boils down to, if they really want to get in, they're going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can drive a truck through a fence too. It doesn't take too much to do that. We can only do what we can do. That's all we.
Right. So the question that we have to answer is, do we think this is a reasonable concept, and that we suggest they go ahead and draw up a plan, more detailed plat and landscaping, grading and everything for then for review and possible approval? Is that the question before us?
Yes, if you believe it's a reasonable concept, then it'll go with city staff, and especially the city engineer, the public works director, and we'll work out those details with the developer.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
So right now, the way you got it set up, Ryan, are you gonna say that we have to have roads out there in this 15?
As we've done it in other cases, it at the very least has to be put into easement. So that way, in other cases, it hasn't, like the developer hasn't put in city streets right then and right there. For example, out at the Highlands, they've platted out areas where they will be moving into or building into, but they're not there yet. So
Streets there on.
Yeah, streets.
On paper.
Yeah, streets on paper. So that way, when it comes time to, and I don't know from the engineer's perspective for timelines, but at the very least, that has to be put on the paper for a plat. So that way, nobody builds over it in the future.
The problem, you have to look at our side of the fence here too. We're spending a lot of money on this land, and then if you start throwing roads in there every, city block, my cost would be astronomical if I had to do a city curb and gutter and water and sewer. We couldn't afford to do it. And it's not plausible.
Right. And that's the city streets, that was in a MnDOT plan back in 2001. So the exact location of city streets, it isn't specified, but that through street between County 10 to eventually Highway 60 is something that has to be put in.
Talk to Stephen on the map, or the maps that you guys have probably don't show where the street might be, but we're thinking on between you and me on the west side there. That way it's not going through your property, it's not splitting yours up at all.
So what I got in my head is like a intersecting streets that are gonna go through.
No, they want a connecting road from 60 to over there, right?
To 10.
So to 10.
Only
So,
one.
yeah, just be one connecting street. There wouldn't be.
That would be figured out during the staff review and during the platting process.
But it wouldn't be like every block or anything
You're
like
talking
that.
about like the Backridge Road heading all the way up to 60.
Eventually.
Right.
We're figuring room for that in our, but we don't have that done because we haven't platted it yet. But this is just forward to the next step.
Don't do that, please.
With that, I mean, I know that would be more on the staff and the engineering planning level, but would you envision that street to be along 460th and then it curves towards the north and then, or what was the?
They made it sound like they wanted it kind of parallel with 52, and then they have businesses on both sides, maybe. That's why I moved it there, because there would be future development chances on my land to the west. So like if he built the storage facility and you had the road, then there would be room, to do future development down the road.
Right.
Who owns that parcel right there?
Gary Stiller. I believe it's your, so.
To the north is Jesse Lemon, and his goes all the way to 52. And that's a big hill, so you can't even see this land at all from 52. So it's, I know somebody made the comment last time that, it's good visible land from 52, but it's not. So.
You said this is Stiller right here?
Yes.
Yep.
Do we need to do a motion to answer the question or just polling us, or how do you want to do this?
I think a motion would be in order if anybody cares to make one.
Would be a motion to say that the concept is reasonable, and if so, then that motion would then send it to city staff for the preliminary plating.
Right.
Prince, I would make that motion to say the concept is reasonable and to send it to staff for preliminary plat.
Anybody care to second?
I'll second it, Steger.
Your second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Bullseye,
Aye.
Bucher,
Abstain.
Venus,
Aye.
Prinz, Steger,
Aye.
Hamel. Aye. Rockne, aye. Motion carries. Thanks for your time. We've already taken care of 6A and B. Now on to 6C, St. Paul Road preliminary and final plat. Ryan?
Yes. Grab my notes. Or
Just a minute.
Okay. Property owner, okay, Zilgit Civil Design, they've submitted an application for preliminary and final plat, so it'll be running concurrently, for townhomes along St. Paul Road. The proposal will plat 2 current lots into 4 lots with an R2 zone. Please see attached for a site plan. The underlying zone will not change. All it's doing is, and the current city services are already there for 4 units. So city staff recommend a motion to set a public hearing for April 13th, 2021 at 5:35 p.m.
I would move that we schedule the public hearing as noted.
Second. Hamel second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor, Bullseye,
Aye.
Bucher,
Aye.
Venus,
Aye.
Prinz,
Aye.
Steger,
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Rockne, aye. Motion carries. 7A, Ryan reports.
Yes, for the awareness of the Planning and Zoning Commission. See if I have the, what has always been in practice, but was never put on the paper, was for Woodlands, Woodlands residential development. At the back of your packet, you'll see that what is the current plat for the Woodlands, Woodland Second specifically. They have an envelope of land around each of their lots that is owned by the homeowners association. When Woodlands was originally platted and they got the PUD in the developers agreement, they left out the setbacks for each of these lots, and then they changed it, they rectified that by having an MOU. So stating that these are what the agreed upon setbacks are for each lot. And then as it came into use and what had always been agreed upon and was current practice, the certain lots owned by the homeowners association, specifically lot 16 on block 3, lot 15 on block 2, and lot 52 block 1, were included in the factoring for the setbacks, the front and rear yard setbacks. So what the city council, last city council meeting, was they signed an updated MOU to put onto paper that this current practice is to be followed. to include homeowners association owned land into factoring in the setbacks for the rear and front yards.
Yeah, I can remember when that subdivision was platted and they wanted a PUD because of the higher density, more compressed housing that they were suggesting that there'd be some relaxed setbacks, but I'm surprised that it never officially got in the approved PUD or the developers agreement. Was that just an omission, it looks like?
I think it was just an omission.
Okay.
Looking at the past traffic and documents within our files, they forgot to include the setbacks wholesale in the developers agreement. And so they went back and they had an MOU to put on the paper.
Sure.
And part of the omission on that was including the whole land.
Rather than go through a process of amending the PUD, just doing a memorandum of understanding that yeah, okay. So is that just for our information? Do you need any
Yes.
action?
No action needed. It's for your awareness, for your understanding, because it does deal with setbacks, which is usually something within the wheelhouse of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right. Questions on that from the commission at all? If not, I don't think there's anything else. So meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rockne?
Yep, goodbye.
Matt, are you still on?
Debbie's still on.
Is Ryan and Rockne still there?
I don't know.
I'm going to ask them about the runoff on the Wobig building. They were going to look into that.
Oh. Yeah, have they been making a lot of noise lately?
Over at Wobig?
Yeah.
No,
Is that-
not a lot.
Oh, they aren't doing that? Because I've been hearing a lot of noise lately, but I didn't know where it was coming from.
Mm-hmm. A lot of semis in and out of there, but that's all I've seen.
Oh,
I'll have
yeah,
to
that could be.
send,
Where?
They said it was 5,600. Yeah, and I was paying like a third of it. That's not what this says. You give me a number first. Yeah, I told her. I think he did. Yeah, okay. So we're not. I don't know. That was one of his mailing addresses.